Excited to continue today the series of talks we've been in called The Functional Family. Again, look, we have crossed out the dis. We don't want to be dysfunctional families. I joked and said my mom used to say, we put the fun in dysfunctional. And it's actually not fun to have a dysfunctional family. And so we're talking about how we can create healthy homes, how we can create an environment of an atmosphere of love and honor in our families. And if you've been with us the last few weeks, you already know we're not just kind of giving marriage and parenting tips or life hacks. We're actually going deeper so that we can lay a firm foundation in our lives for the future generations. I'm gonna tell you that today we're going deeper, because we have to catch this. You and I, just like that house in the graphic, you and I are laying a foundation that our future generations will build on top of. I love what Neil from South Africa said a couple of weeks ago. He said, our ceiling is our children's floor. And for some of us, that's encouraging, and for some of us, it freaks us out. You see, we have to realize how we have been shaped by the generation before us, and we have to know that we are shaping the generation after us. That's why this is so important. And an amusing way that I've seen this play out in my family is with a love of sports. Perhaps you could say it's a guy thing, but one way my dad who's now 76 and lives in Texas, one way we have always connected is through sports. Now, before you think we are mega athletes, even though I look like one, we're not. We like watching sports. For my dad and I, we always watched football, basketball, and the major golf tournaments. And we would watch them together growing up. And even now, as I've been out of the house for the last 25 years, when there's a big game on, one of us always calls the other. Or my dad will just text me, and he'll just text me, and granted, random dad texts do happen all the time, but he'll just say, what do you think? Or what did you think? And I automatically know that he's talking about the NBA playoff game. Or recently when Rory McIlroy was making a comeback to win the Masters, I had to call my dad to make sure he was watching. And then, of course, we called each other and debriefed later that night. Now, the crazy thing is, as my dad and I kind of keep track of national sports, living on different sides of the country, all of a sudden I look up and my son loves to watch sports. Except for with him, we have added Formula One, international soccer, and baseball. And baseball alone, that's 160 games. And more for the Padres this year because we're going far, right? Yeah. So needless to say, that's a lot to keep up with. If we could only get paid for watching sports, we would be millionaires by now. So what that means is if you came around my house on an evening or a weekend, you would most likely either see a game on or you would hear the sound of da-da-da, da-da-da, as my different kids have ESPN notifications going off literally all the time around the house. I laughed several days ago when Anna, who did a beautiful job leading worship this morning, I laughed several days ago as Anna looked at me at the dinner table with such a serious look on her face. And she said, "Can you believe that the New Orleans quarterback retired?" And I was like, no, I can't believe that, and I can't believe that you know that. With that said, I would say our favorite family sport to watch is football, American football. Anna is a huge Bengals fan. John David is a Cardinals fan. And I'm just in it for a good game. And nothing signals the coming of a new football season quite like the NFL draft. So now, if you don't know what the NFL draft is, it's basically the time of year when the 32 NFL teams pick new players for their teams. They are typically players that have come out of college, and the worst teams from the previous season get to pick first. Now, the NFL has made this a huge deal. Drafts used to be something that were done with a few phone calls or maybe over a fax machine. It was purely administrative. But now the draft is something where people from all over the nation come to witness teams as they are hoping to draft their next generational player. Just a few weeks ago, they had the draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin, a city of 100,000 people. And there were over 205,000 people at the draft. They doubled the city population just for the people that came to watch the draft. So you can know that for my family, football fans, we had this date on the calendar. And we were probably thinking the same thing you were. Who will be the first quarterback selected? Where will Travis Hunter, the acclaimed two-way Heisman winner, go? And will Shedeur Sanders, the son of Deion Sanders, go early or late? In case you missed it, he went late. And we started watching the draft on Thursday night. Little did I know that I was committing my entire weekend to the draft. And as it went on, we got to hear stories behind these players. Many times coming out of adverse circumstances and trials. And after hearing their name called, they were getting invited into the opportunity of a lifetime. I was commenting to my son that the good thing about not getting selected early in the round is that you get to go on a good team. Like, for example, think of the players that got drafted by the Chiefs or the Eagles, the two teams in the Super Bowl last year. Like, they could potentially be playing for a Super Bowl this next year. And some of these guys, while getting the honor of being selected early, are going to have to grind it out on a bad team for a while. You know, as I kept chewing on this, it got me thinking that our lives aren't entirely unlike the NFL draft. Because you and I were drafted onto a team as well. Be it as the decision of your parents, or the confluence of circumstance, or just by the sovereignty of God. You were drafted into a family. And just like an NFL player doesn't pick the team they are drafted by, you and I don't get to pick the family or the circumstances that we are born into. For some of us, it maybe feels like we were drafted onto the Chiefs, a good team, and you feel like you're winning and killing it. And others, it's like you were drafted onto the Browns or the Panthers, bad teams, where all you can do is either make fun of them or just pray. And your family, just like an NFL team, has a personality. There are things that make the team that you come from, well, unique. For example, we Lairs have some unique idiosyncrasies. For example, I often say that Lairs are sleepers. We love to sleep. We're not the people that can have a tidy 5 or 6 hours of sleep and be good. No, that would hijack our week. Like when I think of vacation with my family, I have to plan in enough sleep. When I think of vacation with my family, I have to think of what kind of mattress will we be sleeping on and what kind of pillow will we be putting our heads on. Can I get an amen out there? Yeah. Because if we get a bad night's sleep, it's going to be a long day for all of us. My wife and I are not the most athletic It's probably because our parents are not all that athletic. I remember dreaming of my wife and I becoming a golfing couple. And I got Suzanne clubs. We went out to play our first round of golf. We were on the first tee box. All my life dreams and goals were coming to pass. And my wife goes on the first tee box and she's looking over that ball. She swings the club and she whiffs. She looks at it again. She swings the ball and whiffs. She goes on to swing 2, 3, 4 times. And I come over and I'm angrily trying to help her. And while I'm giving her my best golfing pro tip, trying to get her focused, she says, "Oh, look, there's a bunny." After whiffing the ball a few more times, she ended up kicking the ball and kicking my dream of being a golfing couple to the curb as well. That is why I wholeheartedly back all of my children's athletic efforts, but I also acknowledge that they are fighting against some pretty strong genes. Like, right? That's why no one should ever be bullied or made fun of or judged by their physical appearances. The reason I look the way I do is because of my unique blend of Spanish and indigenous Mexican and European ancestors. The reason I am my height is because I am a combination of my parents and their parents. My son, John David, has a dream of getting to 5'10". And I said, "Bro, I will pray and partner with you in faith." Now, it's one thing to talk about idiosyncrasies and unique attributes, but there's also gifts from every family. I think about the entrepreneurial grace that is on my family, that is on my father as a serial entrepreneur and real estate developer, that was on his father, who was an oil and land investor, that was on his father, that was one of the founders of the town in Texas that I'm from. I think about how that has translated into a leadership grace that comes naturally to me. And now I see my own children taking leadership and initiative in different ways. I think about growing up in a home that we always had people over. My parents were always hosting a big party on the 4th of July and on Christmas. They were famous parties in my town, and I think that is one of the reasons why Suzanne and I love to host, because it was something that I saw modeled all throughout my childhood. And it's so fun now to see my teenage daughters become party throwers. So I want to press pause for a second. This message, by the way, is going to be a 2-part message this week and next week. And I really want us to take our time here, because we have to understand how our family of origin has shaped us. Again, I understand that your family of origin may or may not be in your life. It might be a source of pain and grief, or maybe great joy. But us understanding where we've come from is critical if we're going to get where God wants to take us. Us understanding where we've come from is critical if we're going to get where God wants to take us. So I just want to take a few moments for reflection. I don't know if we have a little slide for this one. And I want you to reflect on a few questions here. Do we have it? Okay. So I want you to just ponder this for a minute. What family were you drafted into? Maybe think of Eric, the Trimble family, Kelly, the Brown family, Suzanne, the Pine family. Sometimes it just helps for even us to remember what family were we born into? What are unique things about your family? What are gifts from your family? Like I mentioned, Lairs love to throw a good party. What's a gift like that you have received from your family? I want you to just turn to the person next to you and just share a couple of things that come to your mind. What are unique things about your family? What are gifts from your family? Don't be afraid. We're in church. It's time to get real. Time to talk. Time to share. Just turn to someone next to you. Maybe you might want to take a picture of this for something for you to ponder or for you to reflect on. Maybe one of the gifts of this morning is you're going to realize that there were actually some gifts that you received from your family. Maybe for some of you, family has been a source of pain. And at the same time, we want to acknowledge the things that we have received from our families of origin. So it's one thing when we talk about height and hair color and hobbies, but we also have to recognize that there is hard wiring that has been put in us from our families of origin. What do I mean by hard wiring? Our families, every family has an operating system. Maybe you think of Apple or what's the other one? Android. Oh, yeah. Gabriel. God bless you. Apple, Android, right? So we think of operating system. Every family has an operating system. And this operating system is your and I's default mode of how we see life. Maybe a better way to say it is that you and I were drafted into a family, and every family has a playbook. Every family has a playbook. Again, we're going with a sports analogy. Just hang with me. Some of you guys that aren't sports fans are like, what in the world are you talking about? Every family has a playbook. On a football team, that would be specific plays for how you're going to run a defense, or specific plays for offense. But in a family, the plays have to do with how you see life.